how can you deal with a person who isn't trustworthy? If a wagon has no axle, how can you ride in it? We often hear that relationships must be built on trust, and it's hard to disagree. Trust is a feeling of absolute peace, the lack of any doubts, and the complete naturalness of the relationship. Trust is an open, mutual understanding built on confidence in integrity and the other person's kindness to you. Trust knows no doubts. Where doubt begins, trust dies. Trust is really the building block for solid relationships. So Isabel and Aiden met at a friend's party. They were young, beautiful, energetic, and ambitious. They had a lot in common and had a similar outlook. They began to date, then lived together, then got married. They had a small wedding with just close family and friends. Isabel and Aiden had been married for a year. They were workaholics, each with their own career, and no plans for kids. Isabel asked to leave work early, made a celebratory dinner, and anxiously waited for Aiden to tell him the wonderful news. Her pregnancy test came back positive. Even though it wasn't planned, Isabel was incredibly happy. "Are we celebrating something?" Aiden asked, looking at the dinner table. "Dear, I have to tell you something important," Isabel answered, not hiding her smile. "Did you get that promotion you wanted?" Aiden was clearly expecting to hear a yes to his question. "No, that's something much better. We're going to have a baby, Aiden! I'm pregnant!" At that moment, Isabel expected Aiden to grab her in his arms and for them to start planning this new happy step of their lives together. But he was quiet. She even noticed his expression changed. He looked anxious. His jaw kept clenching as if he was barely containing his anger. "Aiden, what's wrong? Why won't you speak?" Isabel asked her husband. "Not us. You'll have a baby. Do you think I'm an idiot? You cheated and now you're trying to make me the father. I want nothing to do with that baby. This is your mess. You fix it." Isabel was speechless. She was paralyzed and couldn't believe what she just heard. She didn't recognize her husband. He had never spoken to her like that before. "Aiden, what are you saying? How could you? Why are you talking to me like that?" Isabel finally managed to say. She didn't understand what was happening. The whole time they lived together, she not only didn't cheat, but she also never gave him a reason to be jealous. "Stop playing dumb, get your stuff and leave." Isabel had never seen her husband like this. She also realized she was scared of him. "The doctors told me 10 years ago I couldn't have kids. I'm infertile." Aiden's face was split into fury and hate. "Then there's only one explanation. The doctors made a mistake. It happens, and we need you." "Shut up. I don't want to listen to you. Leave," Aiden bellowed, not holding back his rage anymore. Isabel got her stuff and went to her parents. At first, she was sure she could fix it, since she didn't trick Aiden. However, after some thought, she realized that her husband had shown his true colors. She couldn't be, and didn't want to be, with such a person. There was no reason to prove she was right. Isabel lived with her parents for a bit, then was able to rent a small apartment. Luckily, she had some money saved. The divorce was difficult and was full of screams, scandals, and accusations towards the woman. 5 years went by. Isabel was happy and adored her daughter. It was hard at first. There wasn't enough money, and she needed help from her parents. But when Olivia was born and Isabel held her for the first time, she realized she was ready to do anything necessary for her. She grew older and went to daycare, and Isabel went back to work. Everything fell into order slowly. She was now securely on her feet and calmly raised her daughter with tons of love and gentleness. Olivia looked a lot like her ex-husband, but it was her daughter and her blood. A small but important part of her life. Now, Isabel had recently met a man who treated her and Olivia wonderfully, but she wasn't rushing to let him in completely because she had already been wrong about someone once. Isabel clearly understood that her past negative experience was interfering with completely opening up to her partner, and that it was wrong, so she was working on herself. Aiden's private life hadn't worked out. He saw betrayal in every woman, treated everything with suspicion, and made scandals, so his few relationships all ended within a month. He trusted no one and was unhappy. Because if you want a satisfying life, you need relationships built on mutual trust. Even the simplest communication would be a waste without it. But he didn't understand. He retreated farther and farther from people and talked less and less. He lived as an unhappy, alone, gloomy man. One day, Isabel was walking with Olivia in the park. Aiden walked past them and froze. The girl looked like his sister. She had curly hair, big brown eyes, and a small, snubby nose. Aiden thought for the first time that if Isabel wasn't lying, then that really was his daughter, and the doctors must have made a mistake. He wanted to go to her, but Isabel saw him, grabbed her, and left quickly. Aiden didn't try to catch them, but he called his former in-laws that evening and found out where Isabel lived. He went to see her the next day. Naturally, Isabel met him coldly, but let him come in. She wanted to know why he came and what would surprise her this time. Aiden said he wanted a paternity test. To his surprise, Isabel didn't object and brought her daughter's brush and gave Aiden a few hairs. "You've got what you wanted. Now get out and don't come back ever again," Isabel said. "But if the test confirms that Olivia is my daughter, then I have the right to see her." Aiden's tone was surprisingly restrained, without any anger or frustration. "No, you have no rights. Did you forget you can't have children? Get out." She shut the door and relaxed. She was grateful that she had seen his true colors a year after living together. Without trust, you can't build a strong, happy relationship. Their marriage was simply destined to fail.